Namaskaram. We are having a very distinguished panel here. Two persons who have left their mark in the government through their service, as well as their mark in the field of literary activities. That to have such a wonderful conversation to begin the day is in itself is a great treat that WLF has provided us. I am not an author in the literary sense. My work is mostly in the academic area in the field of intellectual property rights. Mostly in copyright field, we talk about the creations of an author is referred to as work. Okay, so the author creates a body of work. So there is a personality of the author, as a civil servant, and there is a personality of the body of work that this author creates. These two distinguishable personalities are what they manage in their life, because in the most normal ordinary civil servant need to only deal with his ordinary self and his ordinary personality. The creations that an author make lives long after that. That's why the copyright is granted to 60 years after the death of the author. The principle is that for 2 generations, the persons in the family should get some revenue from the creations of the author. So the body of work that they leave behind lives much after them, while the body, the persona of a civil servant fades away on retirement. It's a fixed time period that everybody serves in the government. But the literary personality lives much beyond. And that is something which is admirable in this person. During this conversation, we'll try to explore both these personalities. സർവീസും സാഹിത്യവും അത് നമ്മൾ കേരളത്തിൽ ചർച്ച ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എപ്പോഴും നമ്മൾ കേരളത്തിലെ സർവീസിലിരുന്ന് സാഹിത്യത്തിൻ്റെ അഗ്രഗണ്യത്തിൽ വ്യവഹരിച്ചിരുന്ന മലയാറ്റൂർ രാമകൃഷ്ണനെയും മലയാറ്റൂർ രാമകൃഷ്ണൻ്റെ യന്ത്രം എന്ന കൃതിയെയും ഓർക്കാതെ നമുക്ക് മുന്നോട്ട് പോകാൻ സാധിക്കുകയില്ല. ആ ട്രഡീഷണലിൽ നിരവധിയായ IAS ഓഫീസേഴ്സ്, ഇപ്പം ജയകുമാർ ഗാനരചയിതാവ്, മറ്റ് പല IAS ഓഫീസേഴ്സും IPS ഓഫീസേഴ്സും കൃതികൾ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ in English you could very well see the works of Upamanyu Chatterjee, English August, which clearly speaks about the service, bit of alienation that you feel while in the field, when you move from your training academy to the field. All these conflicts are brought out in that book. So these persons, these creative officers, those who create literary work while in service, are managing these conflicts. The conflict of alienation, the conflict of the pressures of work, and the conflicts in the daily life you encounter as a human being. And yet, they keep their literary creativity alive. The spark which they have in their heart is what comes out as their work, and which lets the world read. Now, I would request each one of them to make an introductory remark with one question, and then we will go on to their body of work to understand their literary personality even more. The question to you both is this: Is there something called a literature in the service? Or let me put it another way: what does writing mean to you while in service? Because you have daily pressures of work, and you have been in the RBI, which means that you are dealing with accounts, you're dealing with finance, you're dealing with the currency of the country. So that's a very high pressure job. While doing that, how do you keep your creative spark alive? And what does writing mean to you?
Actually, I was in Reserve Bank, and Reserve Bank is a very big institution, and I'm part of it. So I have only to focus on the work given to me. If everybody does that, then Reserve Bank goes on fine. So as such, I don't have any financial pressure of the government saying that or this and all. Things are taken care of at the highest level, and we do our duty, whatever is assigned to us. So creativity is part of your personal get up. So, like, if you are writing, I used to write right from school days. I used to write poetry. I was a bookworm. I never used to go for sports or, running and all that. I used to go to the library and sit. And I started writing poetry in my school days. I was very thrilled when my um, uh, poems came in my school magazine, later on in my college magazine, and that continued. So that is one part of us which is separate. The creativity, what we do is like, it's a compartmentalizing. It doesn't clash with each other.
Rebecca, you are the senior most IAS officer in the country. You are the Deputy Controller and Auditor General of India, which in itself is a very highly responsible position, and you have held so many positions in the government and the higher echelons and delivered in high pressure situations. So, is there conflict between these two? How, how is writing coming to you while in service, while performing at such high level?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's almost scary when Zakir said that the body of work stays on. and but to your question about how do you manage, രണ്ടും എങ്ങനെയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ഞാൻ ആക്ച്വലി ഐ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് പ്രിറ്റി ലേറ്റ്. വെൻ കോളേജിലൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾ എഴുതുമായിരുന്നു. വി ഹാഡ് എ മാഗസീൻ ഇൻ വിച്ച് എല്ലാവരെയും കളിയാക്കുന്ന ഒരു കൂളർ ടോക്ക് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ഞാൻ എഡിറ്ററായിരുന്നു. ഞങ്ങൾ ഈ വൃത്തിയോടൊക്കെ എഴുതുമായിരുന്നു. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ ലിറ്റിൽ ദാറ്റ് വി ഡിഡ് ആസ് ലിറ്റററി വർക്ക്. പിന്നെ then life starts off. I got in at 23, and then I was a mother. Kalyanam kazhichu. You just go on. Somewhere along the line, the only thing that stayed with me was reading. Reading jailindille orangan pattilla. Reading sustained me. Somewhere at the age of just after I crossed 50, I started writing. So now you might think that and a job actually pressure. It was a lot of pressure because I've handled very stressful jobs. Say, for instance, I had to supervise 2 bifurcations, bifurcation of audit offices, etc. One when Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand got bifurcated, then Telangana and Andhra Pradesh got bifurcated. It was very, 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 very stressful. പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ ബെസ്റ്റ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് കെയിം വെൻ ഐ വാസ് സ്ട്രെസ്ഡ്. സോ വെൻ യു ആസ്ക് വാട്ട് ഇറ്റ് ഡസ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് മീൻ ടു മീ, ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇറ്റ്സ് എ കോപ്പിംഗ് മെക്കാനിസം. എന്നും യു മീറ്റ് എ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് പീപ്പിൾ. ഞങ്ങളുടെ ജോബ്സിൽ എന്താ, ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് പീപ്പിൾ കം ടു യു. പിന്നെ എൻ്റെ ജോബ്, ഓൾദോ ഐ ഹാവ് എൻ ഓഡിറ്റ് വർക്ക് ആൻഡ് ഐ ഹാവ് ഫൈനാൻഷ്യൽ വർക്ക്, ഡേറ്റ ആൻഡ് സ്റ്റഫ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്, മച്ച് ഓഫ് അവർ ജോബ്സ് ആർ ആക്ച്വലി human resource management. So a lot of people will come and tell you their stories. Avarelladellum kekkanam, pinne pillarundu avarde stories kekkanam, amme appa ellarudeyum stories kekkanam. So there's a lot of listening that is happening, and I'm not a person who's at ease with the world, who's flowing with the world. I've always been a little awkward. So I am baffled by the world, or I get anxious by the world, or I get angry at certain things. I'm disappointed because I'm an optimist. I think the world should be a little better. So I get and all that. When I come back to the house, I write because that is the only way I can make peace with the world. I can make peace with myself. Angry at the world or angry at yourself also happens. So writing became a coping mechanism. Some event that happens, then I need to take it, make a story out of it, so that now I'm not under any pressure that I'm doing anyone injustice, or I am being judgmental, though maybe I am judgmental, but in a story it becomes easier to deal with all those things that baffle me, make me anxious, irritable, everything. And then when I'm written, till the next thing starts. So writing is actually a coping mechanism. Work, however stressful, has never come in the way. In fact, the more the stress, the greater is my desire to write. And if writing weren't there, I can't survive. So it's not as though I'm taking out time to write. I need to write to live.
Thank you, Rebecca. Let me probe you a little further, because we are talking about two persona. One is your official persona, and the other is your literary persona. You write a lot in government. Normally, lots are written. I mean, you have to, every decision of yours is justified in the form of a long note in the order sheet. So a lot of English is written, sometimes in Hindi too. But a lot of writing happens in government too. So how does the writing in government, in your official capacity, how does it different, or how do you differentiate from your writing in the literary capacity or literary work?
I would start by saying that ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ നോട്ട്സ് ഒക്കെ എഴുതാൻ it has to be self-contained. Okay, it should make sense. It should, each preceding paragraph should lead to the other and should lead to a conclusion where you write, we propose to do this. അങ്ങനെയാ ഞങ്ങൾ എഴുതുന്നത്. So to an extent, writing in government, because എല്ലാ decisions-നും background note വേണം. അല്ലെ, how do you know ഈ എങ്ങനെയായി ഡിസിഷൻ? ബിക്കോസ് ദർ ഹാസ് ടു ബി അക്കൗണ്ടബിലിറ്റി. ഇത് ഞങ്ങളുടെ കാശല്ലല്ലോ, ഇത് പബ്ലിക് മണിയാ, പബ്ലിക് ഓഫീസേഴ്സാണ് ഞങ്ങളുടെ. വി ഹാവ് ടു റൈറ്റ് വൈ വി ഡിഡ് വാട്ട് വി ഡിഡ്, റിഗാർഡ്ലെസ് ഓഫ് വാട്ട് വി ആർ ഡൂയിങ്. അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് ഒരു ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ട് ഉണ്ട്, വിച്ച് മീൻസ് ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് ടു മേക്ക് സെൻസ്. ടു ദാറ്റ് എക്സ്റ്റെൻറ്റ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് ഇൻ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ഹെൽപ്സ് ഇൻ sort of cogently thinking through. പക്ഷേ എന്താ റൈറ്റിങ്ങിന്, you would think, I don't know, maybe should I say this or not, but a lot of the times the art of managing government is managing how much to reveal and how much to hide. അപ്പം when you're writing for parliament questions or your RTI or whatever, where the public, we എത്ര എക്സ്പ്രസ്ലി എഴുതണം, എത്ര തെറ്റാകരുത്, ഇറ്റ് ഷുഡ് നോട്ട് ബി ഫോൾസ്, ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് ഷുഡ് നോട്ട് ബി ഫുൾ ട്രൂത്ത് ഓൾസോ. അപ്പോൾ അതൊരു ഡിറ്റർമെൻറ്റാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് റൈറ്റിംഗ് എൻ്റെ അനുസരിച്ച്, റൈറ്റിംഗ് ഫിക്ഷൻ, റൈറ്റിംഗ് എനിത്തിങ് ഈസ് അബൌട്ട് ഗെറ്റിംഗ് ടു ദ ട്രൂത്ത്. ഓഫ് കോഴ്സ് ദർ ഇസ് നോ ട്രൂത്ത്, ഇറ്റ്സ് മൈ ട്രൂത്ത്, ഹൗ ഐ സീ ഇറ്റ്, ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ടു ബി ഓണസ്റ്റ് ടു ദാറ്റ് പർട്ടിക്കുലർ തിങ്. മോർ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ്ലി, ഞങ്ങളുടെ writing in official language is very stilted, it's very heavy. It has been observed. Who has observed? ഞങ്ങൾ എഴുതൂല. I observe, we observe, this office observed, that അങ്ങനെ എഴുതൂല. It was observed and therefore it was felt and it was discussed and it was done, and we reached there. In writing, it has to be direct, active voice. I did this. In editors, when I send it, അതിങ്ങനെ വരും, ഇറ്റു ഇങ്ങൊക്കെ വരും. അപ്പോൾ they'll cut off, because it has to be direct. It has to be extremely economical. Faulkner says, if 3 words can do, please don't write 10, or please don't write 5, please don't write 4, just write 3. So that economy is another thing that you have to learn when you write fiction. So they're two different worlds in a way, but they do support, I feel, at some level when it comes to cognitive thinking.
Thank you, Rebecca. Elizabeth Kurian writes in the pen name Mona. She is a poet. She writes poetry in Urdu. Now, ma'am, I'm going to ask you a very bland, innocent question. Elizabeth Kurian, a Christian, Syrian Christian from Kerala, writing poetry, writing ghazals in Urdu. I mean, where does Urdu come from? How did you learn the language? What is the background of writing poetry in Urdu?
Actually, first thing I would like to make clear that language and religion have no connection. Like, I'm a Christian, I write in Urdu, fine. You can be a Hindu and write in Urdu. There are so many, or there are like the Malayalis here. The Malayalis here don't speak. എല്ലാവരും മലയാളമല്ലേ പറയുന്നത്, ഉറുദു വർത്തമാനം പറയുന്നില്ലല്ലോ. അത് ഭാഷ വേറെ, religion വേറെ. So, in fact, that myth is to be taken out. അതുകൊണ്ട് we have, Urdu, what do you call, Urdu academies there in Hyderabad. So they had one, they had bring out a magazine. And then one issue was the contributions of non-Muslim writers to Urdu. So I was also featured in that. What they want to prove is that religion, it doesn't mean that only Muslims write Urdu. It is the other way around. Actually, one thing I can tell you, language is a more unifying factor than religion. ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും കണ്ടു ആരെങ്കിലും മലയാളത്തിൽ വർത്താനം കേട്ടാൽ ആ മലയാളിയാണോ എവിടുന്നാ ഇങ്ങനെ തുടങ്ങും. വി ഫർഗെറ്റ്, വി ഡോണ്ട് ആസ്ക് യു പേരെന്താ ഏത് റിലീജിയനാ അങ്ങനെയൊന്നും ഇല്ലല്ലോ. ഐ മീൻ വി ഫീൽ വെരി ഹാപ്പി, നമ്മളൊരു ഫാമിലി പോലെയാണ്. So that, I mean, and one thing is that why I got to write Urdu is because Urdu, I feel, is the best language for poetry, and especially the ghazal format.
So can you please explain to the audience what is a ghazal format?
Yeah, I think those who are studied English must have heard about the sonnet and like or Japanese haiku. There are so many forms of writing. Then like geet, Hindi geet. So each format is having a different rule for how to write. Ghazal doesn't have any what do you call. You can write anything in a ghazal. There is no restriction. But the beauty of the ghazal is that it has a very vast canvas. It is like there are the ghazal. It is even in English. It's still called ghazal. There's no other word for that. And there is no heading for a ghazal, interestingly. Whereas for a normal poem, you will write the name, the tree or the, whatever you're writing about, love, whatever. So this ghazal says only ghazal. You go to any book, it says ghazal. Why? Because there's no common theme in that. Every 2 lines, it's made of couplets. Every 2 lines is called sher. हर शेर में एक अलग theme हो सकता है. It is not necessary that it can be common also. Like if you're like talking about life, everything connected to life, zindagi, like that it will come. But each couplet, it is 2 lines, should be complete in itself. It is not dependent on the couplet or sher before that or after that. So you have to be, like she was telling, wherever there is 4 lines, 4, you have to stick to 3. Here you have to stick to 2. You cannot go more than that. And you have to be very precise. And you have to convey whatever you have to convey in these 2 lines. Okay? You cannot wait for, 10, 15 lines to, if it's a normal nazm, like that's a poetry, or free verse, you can go on and on. It can be 1 page, it can be 2 pages. But in this, every idea should be complete in that particular 2 words. And then what is the connection between all these? Can any 2 lines come into one ghazal? No. It has particular, there's a rhyme meter, refrain and meter. These are the 3 things that matter in a ghazal. The first 2 lines, the first couplet has two lines which has a rhyme and a refrain, and all the remaining have only the second lines with rhyme and refrain. The refrain is the same word and rhyme is the different words that rhyme. And the last couplet can have the name of the poet in that. Actually, എൻ്റെ വീട്ടിലെ എൻ്റെ പേര് ഓമന എന്നാ, വീട്ടിൽ അല്ലാത്ത പേര് എലിസബത്ത് എന്നാ. സോ ഇത് രണ്ടും അതിൻ്റെ അകത്തോട്ട് ഫിറ്റ് ചെയ്താൽ ആർക്കും മനസ്സിലാകുകയില്ല. ഉറുദുക്കാരല്ലേ തന്നെ എന്നെ അനൗൺസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എലിസബത്ത് കൊറിയൻ മോന സാഹിബ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയും. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു കൊറിയൻ അല്ല, ഞാൻ കുര്യനല്ല ഞാൻ അങ്ങനെ. സോ ഞാൻ ഓമനായി എന്ന് ആ ഓ എന്ന് മാറ്റി വെച്ച് മോന എന്നാക്കിയതാ ഫോർ മൈ പെൻ നെയിം. ഓക്കെ.
I'm just, you alluded to something which I just want to explore further from both of them. She's talked about the structure in the poetry, in the ghazal, right? Now, government is a highly structured organization. It is hierarchical. Your work is structured. Your reportings are structured. In addition, you are a mathematics student, and Rebecca is a chemistry student, right? Does your background, which is again very structured. I mean, chemistry is all formula based and all, and mathematics, of course, is structured. Does it help or does it hinder?
In my case, it has helped because the ghazal is very much metered. That like Chand Shastra, they say for Hindi, and Malayalam എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, meter എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത്, whatever the prosody of the poetry, like which letter should come and how many alphabets or syllables should be there in one line and all that. So here in the ghazal, we have particular meters. So in that meters only it has to fit in. Otherwise it, and if a ghazal is properly written, it can be sung. That is a very, the test of a ghazal, because it is lyrical. It is something like your music, like your classical music or whatever. If one note goes up and down, that the whole thing is spoiled. So like that, like these meters have come from Arabic and Persian, and those what do you call, captions are still being taught. In the sense, when you are learning Urdu poetry from the ustads, they will say failun, failatun, mafailun. These are all names of the meters. So, but if you are seeing digitally, failun is failun 212. Fa-i-latun is 2122. So luckily, when I started writing ghazals, there's, one thing very interesting about ghazals is that you should have an ustad. Okay. In the beginning, I did not know that, like everybody, write poetry, jaake suna do, wawa karo, you be happy and come back. But somebody told me, madam, aapke to मतलब ख्यालात बहुत अच्छे हैं, मगर आप एक उस्ताद को बताइए, ये इसलाह कर देंगे. इसलाह मीन्स दे विल करेक्ट यू, एंड ये बहर ठीक हो जाएगा. सो देन इन हैदराबाद आई हैड वन ustad, one very senior poet. They will like what is that gurukul sort of thing you learn from. Even in music, somebody is guru of that gharana. So we also have some sort of a gharana. You sometimes change gharanas. Like when I went to Bombay, I had another ustad. So I learned the basics from one Kamal Prasad Kamal in Hyderabad. And when I was transferred to Bombay, I was very lucky to have an ustad. I found how I searched for the ustad. In somebody's hand, I found a book, Ghazal Sanrachna, in which it was explained in Hindi so beautifully, like that all this demystifying the prosody, like what is failun, failatun, and these are the behers. So then you have a pattern, how, like something like you say 1 2 2 2 1 2 2 2 1 2 2, like that, or 2 1 2 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. This is another. It has all names. That's too complicated to tell here. But then these are the things in which all poets write. If you take any like Ghalib or Mir or Faiz or whatever something, if you know the meters, you can see in which meters they have been writing. And being a mathematics student, we have come to the point now, I found it very easy to understand the ghazals. Because coming to the basics, This is what matters. I mean, whatever you call it Failun or Tailun or whatever, but it is 2122. Okay. So that is the dirgh and the long syllable and the short syllable, or two short syllables together. So in fact, that has helped me to do a lot. And I also did practice. Once I get into a subject, I go into that, then I forget everything around me. So whenever I get a book, I used to scan the what do you call, what meter it is in. So then by reading a line, I can tell you in which meter this is written. So mathematics has been very helpful to me.
കണക്ക് പഠിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് സാഹിത്യം പറയാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതിൻ്റെ ഒരു അപവാദമാണ് മാഡം ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഗസലില്. അതെ, കണക്ക് പഠിച്ചതുകൊണ്ട് ഗസൽ എഴുതാൻ എളുപ്പമാണ് എന്നാണ് മാഡം പറയുന്നത്. Rebecca, I'm getting back to the same question to you. The structuring, the hierarchy of the government, the strict straitjacket that you have in the government, has it hindered your creative abilities?
One, of course, is the official work, as I was telling you about notes, etc. But I'm an auditor and I write audit reports. അപ്പോൾ ഓഡിറ്റ് റിപ്പോർട്ട്സിൽ എന്താ, യു ഹാവ് ടു ഫോം എൻ ഒപ്പീനിയൻ. ഓഡിറ്റ് റിപ്പോർട്ടിൽ പറയണം ഒരു മൻരേഗ സ്കീമാ, അതിൽ ഈ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സ് ആയിരുന്നു, വാസ് ഇറ്റ് അച്ചീവ്ഡ് ഓർ നോട്ട്. Regardless of whether audit reports actually come to the nub of the issue or not, it has always helped me to sit with my team and say, okay, iska matlab kya hai? Go on, drilling and getting to why did that not happen? What was coming in the way? And sometimes you would realize some very little details hinder the achievement of the project. For instance, I'm just giving you an example which is might look as if it's got nothing to do with it. You have what is called the Janani Suraksha Yojana, and we said the money is not coming to the mother. It's basically to promote institutionalized deliveries. അപ്പം മണി അത് അമ്മകൾക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നില്ല. എന്താ കിട്ടാത്ത? അത് അങ്ങനെയാ ഇങ്ങനെയാ എന്നാലും എന്താ ആ സമയത്ത് എന്താ കൊടുക്കാത്ത? വെൻ ഡെലിവറി കഴിഞ്ഞ് എന്താ കൊടുക്കാത്ത? അത് ഡിലേ ആകും. വൈ ഡസ് ഇറ്റ് ഗെറ്റ് ഡിലേഡ്? ആൻഡ് ദെൻ ദേ സെഡ്, ഒരു ചെക്ക് സൈൻ ചെയ്യാൻ 2 പേര് വേണം. ആൻഡ് ഒരു പ്രൈമറി ഹെൽത്ത് സെൻറ്ററിൽ 2 പേര് ഒരുമിച്ച് ഒരിക്കലും കിട്ടൂല. So the mother has to come back to collect the check. Now this is why this small little detail is what keeps a mother from getting timely payment. You know what I mean? Finally, it is the attention to the little details that brings the truth of a story. And I think, I have learnt a lot from that. And very often when I'm working with editors and all, they say that there's no dilly-dallying, and I seem to come to the point. But coming back to details, what makes great literature is also details. You have, like yesterday we were talking about Anna Karenina, and in one scene what happens is this old man meets Anna and he wants to impress her, but he has a stick. So when he's talking to her, he wants to hold on, he wants to lean on to the stick, പക്ഷേ അത് ആ ground firm alla, and it goes on to a stone. So he hobbles a little. So what he does is, he does it twice to show Anna as if he was doing it for fun, Now this is a small detail, but reading that little detail makes the reading so rich. And I think this attention to detail, which my work demands from me, also makes me very attentive to the little things that people do, the little gestures people do, the small little lies, harmless lies people say. I think, of course, I have to say that I have a long way to go, and with each writing I'm getting better, but it is this which I feel I want to reach, this great attention to detail.
ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിലെ എഴുത്തുകളും റിപ്പോർട്ടുകളും ഒക്കെ വളരെ ബോറിംഗ് ആണ് എന്ന് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞെങ്കിലും you see the amount of work that goes in is phenomenal. Like ഒരു ഓഡിറ്റ് റിപ്പോർട്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വളരെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽഡ് ആയിട്ട് അനലൈസ് ചെയ്ത് ഫാക്ട്സും ഫിഗേഴ്സും കൊണ്ട് സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് പല ലെവലിൽ സ്ക്രീനിങ് നടത്തി പുറത്തു വരുന്നതാണ്. സോ ആ ഒരു തരത്തിൽ ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിലെ ആ ട്രെയിനിങ് നമുക്ക് ഹെൽപ്ഫുൾ ആണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതിൽ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ വെരി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ആസ്പെക്ട് ടു ദറ്റ് ഗവൺമെൻറ്. ഐ ജസ്റ്റ് വാണ്ട് ടു challenge you with your earlier observation, which what we do in government most of the time is obfuscation. You don't reveal the full truth. You don't tell what things are directly. You just kind of beat around the bush or give some kind of a helicopter view to the outsiders, right? But in your writings, Rebecca, you're brutally honest, right? Much of your work clearly goes into details of even personal life and all. How do you do this? At one level, to survive in government, you need a bit of what I would say obfuscation, while at the literary level, there's a brutal honesty that gets reflected in your work.
Ayyo. I think most writers write from their experience. It doesn't mean that it is only about one particular life. In every character in my story, there is me. And there is some experience that we have gone through. Pashe, I think the richness of a writing comes from if the writer can rise above that and then become, it is then not about the writer's view of the person as much as the entire situation that we have. Most of my writing comes from one event, and then I put many people in that event, and then I analyze that's what I'm trying to do. In government work, as you very rightly said, there is a certain obfuscation. You don't want to give clearly you don't want to be that thing. But the beauty of honesty or beauty of writing is not so much of what is written. Equally important is what is not said. A reader has to, there's a great, that balance is very difficult to achieve. പക്ഷെ ഒരു നല്ലൊരു ബുക്ക് വായിച്ചാൽ എൻ്റെ വലിയ ഫേവററ്റ് ഓഥർ ആലിസ് മൺറോ. ഇഫ് യു റീഡ് ആലിസ് മൺറോസ് ബുക്സ്, she leaves everything at a certain level where the reader has to do the hard work as to what it is. If the reader loses attention, ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു ഡീറ്റെയിൽ കാണും that the body was found. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ then the end, in between you realize, oh, that was the body. You have to link these things. A great book is one which keeps you awake, because you haven't got the gist of it. You haven't got the idea. You don't know what it is. You have to go back. You have to think. You have to ruminate. And you have to think. You have to put together many things that have not been said. And secondly, the reader leaves it at a place where there are many interpretations that are possible. So while obfuscation looks like the very antithesis of writing, it is also actually in some way a part of writing. Because if you want to you have to let the reader do the heavy lifting. And a lot of things have to be left unsaid, as important as what is said.
What about your personal experiences? How much does it get reflected in your poetry?
What we as she said, that there are personal experiences also, and we also one thing is when we meet people, like you're in the service, so you tend to meet more people than if you were at home. If you are at home only, you meet your family or maybe a few friends. But being in service, it increases your canvas. Okay, like in the office, you meet so many people, so many types of people. Like you never knew there were such sort of people also like how they behave. So then that all gets sort of, comes to your mind when you are writing. So we may be writing on what they would be doing or what they have done, and like you and we go to say one thing is, when I was transferred to Bombay, I was in the inspection department, so I can relate to your audit department. So we had to write inspection reports and all that. Apart from that, I had the opportunity of visiting about 10 12 capitals of India, because we visit our own RBI offices, and you find the culture in different places different. Like Bombay culture is different, Delhi is different. You know, the way they talk, the way they actually do the work. Like Bombay people are very busy. They are more bothered about when the train comes rather than what is happening in their family. Okay, they miss the train, they miss the whole day. And like Delhi, you go, हाँ मैडम मिल जाएगा, समझो मिल गया फाइल, मगर next 2 days you won't see them also. It's like that. And like Bombay, like you said, they asked me, you learned Marathi? I said, yeah, yeah. I learned first language, first sentence I learned is Mala Mait Nahi. That means I don't know. Like when somebody you ask them something. So yeah, all these cultures get into your psyche, and then when you write, so many things come out. You know, you don't think and write. It comes automatically when you are writing something. Maybe there's some internal connection. Then whatever, like in this ghazals, one thing is you have to decide also what is your meter, what is your, what do you call, the first you must search for rhyming words also, because unless you rhyme you cannot write in the ghazal. So that's it. We are affected by the people around us. Partly it is personal. It's not necessary to commit a murder to write a murder story. So but then you see so many things and then you write like that also.
Now, just to understand their literary personality a little more, I'm requesting them to read from their work. You know, ma'am writes ghazals. So, if possible, ma'am, can you sing out a ghazal in Urdu, and for the benefit of the audience, can you translate it as well?
Yes. Yeah. The first two lines of the poem are called, is called the Matla, and the last is the Makta, in which the poet writes their name. Like सुनिए इसमें क्यों है, न बात कर is the refrain or the radif, and the kafia will be butkada, gamzada, and all that. It's like that. So I mean, I'm not a very good singer, but since you know, you'll have to put up with it because you asked for it. Okay. न मस्जिदों की बात कर, न बुत कदों की बात कर, न मस्जिदों की बात कर, न बुत कदों की बात कर, खुदा को ढूंढना हो गर, तो गमज़दों की बात कर. Talk not of mosques, talk not of temples. If you wish to seek God, talk of destitutes. जो छाँव भी न दे सके, शजर भी क्या शजर है वो. जो छाँव भी न दे सके, शजर भी क्या शजर है वो. तलाश है जो छाँव की, तो बरगदों की बात कर. तलाश है जो छाँव की, तो बरगदों की बात कर. That which can't even give shade, what tree can it be? If you are in search of shade, talk of the banyan tree. बशर बशर में फ़र्क क्या, हर एक है बंदे खुदा. बशर बशर में फ़र्क क्या, हर एक है बंदे खुदा. है फर्श एक, है फर्श एक, है अर्श एक, न सरहदों की बात कर. Why disparity among men? All are God's creations. The land is one, the sky is one, talk not of borders. This is, the concept of Kumar or Saki, and wine is some an important concept in Urdu literature, but it's not actually wine. It is a subtle, uh, what do you call, abstract. So you see what this is. खुमार इश्क में भी है, खुमार इश्क में भी है, नशा है रंजो गम में भी, खुमार इश्क में भी है, नशा है रंजो गम में भी, जुनू में भी है मस्तियाँ, न मई कदों की बात कर. Intoxication exists in love, exhilaration in sorrows, excitement in obsession also. Talk not of taverns. निढाल जो रहेगा तो न कुछ भी हाथ आएगा, निढाल जो रहेगा तो न कुछ भी हाथ आएगा, जला के दिल मशाल सा तो मकसदों की बात कर. Be not apathetic, for empty shall be your hands. Ignite your heart like a torch. Talk about your goals. Zameen, when we go to some place, we say, oh, let's see the Taj Mahal or let's see the Qutub Minar. So actually what holds it up? Zameen mein gadhe hue, जमीन में गढ़े हुए इमारतों की नींव है इनके बल पे वो खड़े, न गुंबदों की बात कर. Buried in the ground are the foundation stones. Talk not of the domes they depend on rise. And this is the last makta. And this is my pen name. Mona will come in this. जो ठान ली है दिल में तो फलक को मोना छू के देख, जो ठान ली है दिल में तो फलक को मोना छू के देख, मिली तुझे जो राह में न उन हदों की बात कर, मिली तुझे जो राह में न उन हदों की बात कर. This is for you, Rebecca. Be determined, Mona, and reach for the sky. Talk not of the hurdles you faced on the way. Thank you.
Beautiful.
One thing I would like to say. Actually, I'm sure you all enjoyed it and you are clapping at the end. But if this was recited in say Hyderabad or maybe Lucknow and Delhi too, after every share, "Arey wah wah, irshad," like that, "Wah wah, kya baat hai," like that would. So then we say, "Oh, they like this." Now we don't know which you liked, which you didn't like.
യെസ് സി ഒരു മലയാളി എത്ര സുന്ദരമായിട്ട് ഉറുദുവിൽ ഗസൽ എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്നു, അതും എത്ര സുന്ദരമായി പാടിയിരിക്കുന്നു. എത്രയോ മീനിങ് ഫുൾ വേർഡ്സ് അതിൽ, എന്തെല്ലാം ആശയങ്ങൾ അതിൽ പ്രതിഫലിപ്പിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു. നമ്മളൊരു ഒരു 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 വ്യത്യസ്തമായ ഒരു സംസ്കാരത്തെയും ഒരു കൾച്ചറിനെയും ആവഹിച്ചിട്ട് അതിനെ സ്വാംശീകരിച്ച് അതിനെ കവിതാരൂപത്തിൽ എഴുതുന്ന എലിസബത്ത് മാമിന്, മോണ എന്ന തൂലികാനാമത്തിലുള്ള എലിസബത്ത് മാമിന് ലൈഫ് ടൈം അച്ചീവ്മെൻറ്റ് അവാർഡ് ഈയിടെ കിട്ടുകയുണ്ടായി ഫോർ ഹെർ കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ ടു ഉറുദു പോയട്രി. ദാറ്റ് ഫാൻറ്റാസ്റ്റിക് മാം. Now, Rebecca, we would like to know a bit about your literary work. Can you please read to us one of your stories or a part of your stories for the benefit of the audience, please?
My stories tend to be long, so I'm just reading a sort of smaller version of my story. This is called Mimi. The old elevator cart clangs and shakes at each floor on its descent. Then there is Mimi, always watchful, her eyes fixed on the door. Of course, she has lots to say in Italian that I barely understand. It doesn't quite matter. Her eyes are lovely, its edges soft under the folds of her parchment eyelids. She pats the sleeves of my coat sorry, and then reaches for my hands. Coarse, quivering fingers wrap around my 5, tight as if her life depends on it. Her loneliness chafes into my skin. And then I stomp my misgivings under the spring of my step and the sweep of my newly acquired Max Mara coat, primed for office. Max Mara is a high-end coat, okay? This morning, Mimi is pacing at the exit of the elevator. Something in her kitchen wouldn't work, she says, and the apartment manager is nowhere in sight. By now, I have built my own networks. Give it 6 months, I tell the other Indians in office. Such claims of immersion are embarrassing, but I can't seem to stop. This time, it is the help of a patisserie at the patisserie of the basement of our apartment complex, a Bangladeshi who is quite a handyman. Turns out that it's just the knob of Mimi's forno that needs oiling. I look away when Mimi hands €2, only €2 at the grumbling Bangladeshi, making a mental note to compensate him later. She leads me to her living room and seats me on a plush leather sofa. Tea, she asks, and seats me and says in a tone which isn't a question, and heads back to the kitchen. The living room is dimly lit with indigo blue walls. Almost the entire space is overrun by stuff. Arrayed on a series of closely spaced rails are clothes, swathed in thick, transparent plastic. Coats and dresses in red, blue, and black. Outrageously out of fashion hats, as if out of a facet of a period drama. Rows of shoes, one a high stiletto lined along the wall. On a low stack, thin skin-colored sheer stockings hang tender on a metal clips. Hidden behind the cloth rails is a white grand piano, which might have been once the heart of this room. A girl may have practiced a much-loved piece and touched scales she didn't quite know her hands could reach. I imagine a woman leaning on the piano, an intense moment with a lover who's playing for her, perhaps Mimi herself. Old couples may have relived a forgotten tango, but now the piano has been pushed to the wall for the sake of convenience. How could these dresses, these silly hats, the stiletto possibly be hers? Oh, I have turned into a voyeur. Yet my eyes rove. The thick blue velvet curtains shut the daylight from the room. You should tell me when to stop, huh? Because this is, I think I'll just end with this thing, yeah? From between the cloth rails near the window, I thrust my index finger and part the curtains, my eyes in search of a river. The Tiber isn't sparkling at all. It is a gray canvas, still and imprisoned in the stone facade of its embankment. An approaching shuffle of footsteps get me back to the sofa. This unauthorized detour to the window too feels like a betrayal of Mimi's trust. She switches in the radio, and Maria Callas's voice rises triumphantly. Visi di arte, visi di amore. The story is actually about two women, and one is very old, and the other is an aging woman. And meeting this old woman raises the anxiety of this aging old woman who's still not old but thinks that's going to be her life. And this song, Visi di arte, Visi di amore, is actually a wail of a woman in Tosca, which is an opera, and I end with saying, which woman you wouldn't yearn for such an unattainable life like Tosca's, to have lived for art, for love, Visi di arte, Visi di amore.
Thank you. Now, you see, the attention to detail, which we talked about earlier, has been brought into a broad canvas, and she is painted as a story of these two women through her words. The crafting of the words is something which Rebecca is extremely good at. You know, this crafting of the sentences and picking up the right words and, you know, conveying the meaning. as well as, leaving certain things unsaid for the observer to internalize, large portions of the canvas and to design a canvas of their own. Um, Let me ask, if any of your audience has a pressing question, you please raise your hand, because I'm going to ask two more questions and we don't have too much time. I would, this is kind of a feminist question which I'm going to ask, because I certainly believe that, look, as a male person in a household gets lots of time, right? You go home, your wife will do the cooking and other things, and you can go and do whatever you want. But they, as officers, have worked through the day in the office, come tired back home, and then they get into the kitchen and get into their work. So, does it actually impact your ability to write? Because ultimately it's all time, and we just have 24 hours and two hands that we have, right? So, Rebecca, would you like to start off?
Well, that's true. I have to put food on the table. I have children, and I think even more pressing than their logistical arrangements as the emotional time that you have to make time for your children. You'd have to take time for your mother, and my mother speaks never less than 45 minutes to 1 hour. And when I say, Anna, mummy, vekkate, she says, so, there are so many demands that are made. And men, such demands would not be made. If I were to tell my mother, mummy, I'm meeting, oh, nee velliyur officer. It would not be said of a man, because it is assumed that he will have work. But for a woman, it's not that my mother is not a nice, she doesn't understand or sing. For her, my first persona is of the daughter. For my children, it is of a mother, and so on and so forth. It is difficult. There are too many demands, and to be emotionally available does take time. But I also think because of this, the writing becomes rich. But your question was more on time. And yes, time is something which has to be rested, because there are too many demands, and it continues. My children, by the way, are working. 28 വയസ്സൊക്കെയുള്ള പിള്ളേരുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ എന്നാലും എപ്പോഴെങ്കിലും വിളിക്കും, and you have to be available. And then, അത് തന്നെയല്ല, he might go and play somewhere. അയ്യോ ആ പാവം കൊച്ച അവിടെ ജർമ്മനിയിൽ തന്നെ. I'll spend another half an hour thinking about it. It is tough.
Would you like to answer it with
I would answer with a ghazal in English, okay? And here this is about women, so it's a sort of continuous ghazal, okay? This is a matla. The world may say they are merely women. The world may say they are merely women. Survivors in life are gritty women. Survivors in life are gritty women. Objects are they of man's ego and lust. Objects are they of man's ego and lust. Those who find real love are lucky women. Those who find real love are lucky women. Every woman has an untold story. Every woman has an untold story. Look behind smiles for unhappy women. Look behind smiles for unhappy women. This is for you, dedicated to you. Commitment to work is their attribute. Commitment to work is their attribute. Those who get credit are rarely women. Commitment to work is their attribute. Those who get credit are rarely women. And then multitasking is their second nature. Multitasking is their second nature. Juggling home and work are nifty women. Juggling work and home are nifty women. Look at this is for the men. Huh? And I think men may not be wealthy or good looking. Okay? Men may not be wealthy or good looking, but they wish to wed rich, pretty women. Am I right? Men may not be wealthy or good looking, but they wish to wed rich, pretty women. And this is about, this is the Makta in which my name comes. Fear not, Mona, about the tests of life. Fear not, Mona, about the tests of life. Those who score high marks are mostly women. Those who score high marks are mostly women. Thank you. Actually, this is my latest book. It is my 22nd book, I think. This is an English ghazal. I've called it the English ghazal train because the ghazal is like a train, and I've given, you're thinking why you're writing train and bus and all for a poem. So I've written here train and a ghazal have many things in common. The engine can be compared to the first couplet, Matla, in which the rhyme, kafiya, refrain, radif, and meter, beher, scheme decide the format or zameen of the ghazal. The compartments are of different categories, like the couplets of the ghazal, which can have different themes. The train runs on fixed rails, while the ghazal has a fixed metrical length or beher throughout. I think somebody can start writing ghazals in Malayalam.
Well, thank you. It was a fascinating discussion. Two fascinating women writers, one writing in Urdu and the other writing in English, and leaving their mark in the literary world. I believe one of Rebecca's stories is scheduled to be published in an international journal. I think the Mimi, which part of it, which she just read out. And we continue. We wish you when you continue to write such beautiful poetry. And yeah, she does translation too. But unfortunately, I've been told that we have run out of time, so I don't have time to open it up for questions. You can meet them and discuss with them once this is over. And thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience, and thank you for your wonderful presentations and talk and discussion and this conversation. Thank you.